Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in again. We got episode 3 today of the Recovery Podcast, and I'm super excited. I got my friend Lucas here, who I actually met at a weekly event I go to. It is a Lakota Sweat Lodge, and it's one of my favorite tools actually to use in my recovery. So, yeah, Lucas has about 2 years clean now, correct?
2 years as of Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, man. Awesome. Cool, bro. So, I just wanted to get started and get your story a little bit, man. So, when did you kind of start using? What was your drug of choice? Kind of how did that escalate? Kind of what caused you to want to quit and get out of that lifestyle?
Yeah, thanks for having me too.
Yeah, of course,
It's cool to be
brother.
here. I'm grateful to be here. I started using probably about 15 years old. Beer, pot. We moved from Wyoming to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and which at the time, the mid '90s, was spring break capital of the West Coast.
Hey, that's still a wild place out there, man. Lake Havasu. I've never been personally, but I hear stories.
Yeah, Pauly Shore, Tommy Lee, it was just like this thing. You go into town and there was famous people there, and the lifestyle was driven by drugs and alcohol. I didn't really know anything about drinking or smoking or anything like that until I got there. People were more progressive, I guess you'd say. It was normal to have a woman in the 7th grade pregnant.
Yeah. Oh.
And I came from this little town in Wyoming where it's we're going snowmobiling on a Saturday, and other people are they're
So it was
doing
total culture shock out there.
Dude, it was, yeah. I mean, I got thrown into it, and my dad got a job out there, and remember the first time I smoked was with a neighbor.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily like the effects produced by it. That's something in my story I don't think is different, but I didn't automatically click with the effects produced by alcohol and pot. It was it made me throw up. I didn't feel good. But I still did it. It was just part of the culture. So for me to fit in, it made me feel more in my body. I could talk to people.
And that's what everyone else in that town was doing. So you're just trying to be cool. You were from a totally different scene, so you're trying to pick this up just as let me fit in with you guys. Let me be part of the crew.
Yeah,
totally.
Social interaction was made important there, and it was fueled by use. You know what I mean? But at that time, it was just, hey man, we're just getting together to do this. It's peer pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Smoke a little doobie, you'll be all right. And I didn't necessarily like it. I just liked being around other people. I wanted to connect.
Yeah.
I was alone a lot when we were in Wyoming. We lived in a single family apartment. My dad was out of town. My stepmom raised me, and we fought a lot. I was really isolated. So coming into this new place and seeing all these kids happy, right? I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. These are my people, right?
Yeah.
They're doing. Maybe I should give this a try. Fast forward, skating became a part of my life. That was a big thing in the culture too, which was driven by extreme sports.
That was me when I was 15, smoking joints, drinking 40s, and riding my skateboard around.
Yeah, and wakeboarding. We had the lake, so it was wakeboarding was just coming about. Seth Enslow had jumped over a Budweiser truck downtown. So you had the Metal Militia crew coming in.
Yeah.
Jeremy McGrath was doing some desert parties. So it was all this extreme sports fueled by adrenaline, sex, drugs, and alcohol.
Yeah.
Right? And school and everything else took the back burner because I was like, well, I'm just going to be whatever I had come out to be in all this, right? Like I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a knowing of where I was going other than like I want to hang out with my friends. I want to go to the beach on Wednesday, and I want to get burned.
I mean, initially from the outside looking in, it looks like a pretty fucking sexy culture. I'm not gonna lie. Like I got sucked in there too.
It's funny because now, like the person who I sweat with, he went to UCLA at 17, and he and I have shared some similarities in our story where it's like we looked into this world. I mean, I was a local, right? Like we didn't have any money, but like we were looking into this world of people that had money, and the Californians were their second homes. And not just Californians, but predominantly, because Havasu's right on the Arizona-California border. So you have people coming in from LA, and they have second homes here. So it was funny, as a local, like we had a middle-class family, came from nice things, but there was this look into this world that we would never get to, right? But like we would go along with it because that's what everybody was doing. I went along with these things because it was like, well, this is what happiness looks like, right? My girl's got to have huge fake boobs with pasties on them, right? And I got to have a go fast 40-foot boat, and like these are the things that are going to make me happy. So in order for me to do that, like I got to ride a dirt bike, I got to ride a wakeboard, I got to figure something out. But what happened was I got lost in the drug culture. Yeah. And what I've learned about that is now is because I'm an addict and an alcoholic. At the time, like that meant nothing because the environment around me, everyone was like me, right? There was no identification going on. There was no problem with any of the things that I was doing at this time, right? Even if going to jail or these things happening, this was just a part of the culture. So environmentally fueled by, staying up all night doing cocaine was like not a big deal. And then that coming into the week a little bit, like it's Wednesday now, we can still do a little bit of cocaine. Like, that was a norm.
I can totally agree. And another thing, because I was in a similar boat too, was like I felt like maybe it was because I never got love from like my parents and stuff like that the way I wanted to, but like I felt like that was like my source of love was those friends, you know what I mean, and that environment at the time,
Yeah. It's a way, it was the illusion of connection, right? Like these are intimate relationships with people, right? Because that person shares their cocaine with me, they're my best friend. And because they continue to share it with me, that makes them even closer, right?
Yeah.
Like that was what I thought about what a friend looked like. Like, oh, he's going to help me rob the beer store too, and he won't snitch on me. Like, that dude is my best friend. And as time goes on, right, the environment changes, people get older, things look different. I've learned more about that.
Yeah.
But really where I began to see an issue was by the time mid to late 90s, Oxycontin hit street level.
How old were you around this time?
18, 19. Probably I had gotten in some trouble. I got sent off to military school in 99.
Yeah.
Was getting in some trouble, and my folks pulled me out. They wanted me to do better in school, so I went down to a military school in South Texas in Harlingen. And change of environment, right? Things will get better. He'll get his grades up. And I did. I got my grades up. But I just became sneaky. Snuck off to Mexico. Like, I didn't care. Like, it didn't matter. Like, I was going to find it.
It wasn't like an ethical thing at this point. It wasn't going against, like, you thinking like you're like a bad person if you use. There was no shame or guilt involved.
No.
It was just like...
This is what I do.
It was just, you're just trying to hide it from your parents because you weren't trying to get shit.
This is what I do, right? And I became more adapted to moving in a way where before I was more open about it, and here being more closed off, right? So I secured a way on how to get what I needed without letting anyone even know I was even doing that. We'd go to Mexico. We'd leave in the morning. We'd go to Mexico, and I don't even want to share a lot about what happened in Mexico. That was it's got a lot of trauma work I haven't gotten to with that.
Absolutely respect that right there. Yeah.
I mean, some of that I don't even want to ever connect the dots, but like we'd go down there for the day, somehow make it back in our bunks by that night. And like I look back on a lot of that, and it's a miracle in itself that we crossed the border, went into Reynosa, which is called Boys Town, and came back in the same day. And yeah, I mean, this was a time right before the cartel wars got really bad, but it was the start of it. So we weren't seeing a whole lot of it, but it was there. It's always been there. Border wars have always been there, but we just kind of, like I said, it's a miracle. I don't even understand how we made it through those. I think we went once, maybe twice, and nobody got hurt. You know, a big group of friends of ours. We all made it back. And by my junior year, I had convinced my parents to let me come home again. Right? I got the military school uniform, and I'm doing it. I'm doing the deal, Dad. I'm ready to come home. You know, I'm going to apply myself when I get home. And I got back and got expelled from school. Moved back down here to Texas and finished at a secondary school in College Station. And I went back home for some reason. I kept going back to Arizona. My folks were there, and so my grandparents were always here in Texas. So I bail out when shit got bad.
Yeah.
Come down here, and that'll be a part of my story. Most of my life was like that. Was coming back here. And then leaving out and kind of exploring the world, and when stuff got really bad, I always came back here. It's kind of like my roots are here, and I would always come down here to like patch myself up, and then go back out and get some more.
Austin's a beautiful place to do that, man. That's where I personally did it myself too.
Yeah. College Station is where I lived off and on for 10 years, so I'm not far from here, and I had friends here. It's funny to talk about because getting sober in Austin was never a plan. Like, I came here to go to 6th Street, came here to go to like Dobie and go to like a Cinco de Mayo party up in the towers. You know, and anytime I ever came to Austin, it seems like the hangovers were worse. And I ended up getting sober.
It's funny. Actually, I the first time I came to Austin was for Austin City Limits, and I dropped acid for the first time here in Austin, and got clean here in Austin.
Right? It's a trip. It's
Yeah.
a trip. By about 98, 99, I went back home. 2001, I had a lot of friends doing Oxy, and Oxy was the predominant drug at the time. It was heroin, pill form.
Yeah, there was a time they were just pumping those 80s out.
It was Green Monster heaven. It was fucking on like Donkey Kong. We had friends going to Vegas, and we'd go to Vegas and we'd pick up. My buddy had about 3 or 4 veterans that were going to the VA and getting 80s and moving around. We would pick them up different sources, and I'm not exactly sure who they were coming from and why, but I just remember this one old man. He was a real nice guy. You know, he just wanted money.
Yeah.
You know, and picked up the drugs, brought them back home, and tripled the price, right? Mm-hmm. And so we got free pills, man. Like we were just like, it was like Skittles. And by 2004 at 4 to 500 milligram a day oxy habit. And
Holy shit, man.
yeah, I mean, it was normal to get up and rail on 80 just to get going. Like, I wasn't IV use at the time. I was just snorting them. It got bad, man. I mean, and I remember that was the first time I went to treatment. I went to treatment in 2005 in San Francisco.
So what prompted that? Did you want to go to treatment yourself?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was so sick because by about 2004, mid 2004, the flux was over. They poured them out, and then all of a sudden, they shut them down.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped flooding the market. They pulled them back, and I felt the impact of that. A lot of us did. We were sick, and we couldn't. I wasn't willing to go to heroin, and I had heard some things about heroin around, but I was just like, nah, like that. You know what I mean? I drank still, and I smoked copious amounts of weed.
Yeah.
You know, try to stay better. And I couldn't get better. I just couldn't kick it. You know, I'd find one or two here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I was basically just staying alive.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like I was going to die. I mean, now learning more about this drug, like the probability of me dying was not there unless I OD'd.
It's just gonna feel like you're gonna die for a long fucking time.
Yeah, it was just like awful. And my dad took me out to San Francisco, and the place was on 3rd and Folsom, right off the Tenderloin. Yeah.
I know that place very well. I grew up right around there. Yeah.
Yeah, 6th and Market was like right there, man. And 3rd and Folsom it was popping, dude. Like, it was cool. It was right down the street from the Church of Scientology, which I learned later that actually that place, it was a Narconon. It was a Scientology-driven treatment center.
Mm-hmm.
I got in, I detoxed unmedically for 10 days. It felt like longer than that, but the remedy for me was hot shower and then cold shower, and then hot shower and then cold. Like, that's all I had.
Yeah.
I had a shower, and I could make it to the shower. I could go to the bathroom, and for about 7 days, I stayed in my room. And I think by the 10th day, I was started to eat yogurt, and I was drinking water. And after 30 days, I moved into their sauna program. They have a sauna treatment where you spend 4 hours a day in a sauna.
Whoa.
And you drink Tang with vinegar in it, and they feed you full of vitamins. And it worked.
So it's like get your blood clean, get all the toxins out, just
Yeah.
purify basically.
And I was sitting in the sauna. We were war storing. There was people from all over the country. I was in there with this big country boy from Earth, Texas, Kyle, and he smoked crack. And Kyle, if you're watching, bro, this would be a fucking miracle if you made it, man. I was in there with a war veteran who had extreme PTSD and would actually go into violent episodes in the tank. Wow, it was. We weren't gender separate. It was women and men in there. It was way out of the box. I relapsed in that treatment twice. I took Dilaudid and morphines one night, and then I relapsed the last day I was there. I took a 80 milligram oxy. So,
shitty way to end rehab, huh?
Dude, it was well, I'm going back out. I didn't know what sobriety looked like. I thought sobriety would just be I had to just stay away from opiates.
Yeah.
Right? It scared me. So my thought was, well, I'll just, I'll stay away from the opiates, and that'll be that, right? And I left out, and some family friend picked me up, and they took me up to the Castro, which was cool. I got to walk around the Castro and like see that area. Frisco, I'd never seen that before. And spent a couple days in San Francisco, and then moved to Monterey.
Can I ask you real quick before you go on, what was the Scientology part of that place like? Like, was there any framework around that?
So they started. There was one woman there who was a healer.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what that means in Scientology terms.
Which, if there's any Scientologists out there watching, you're full of shit. You healed about Boudicca.
So you're not hailing to Lord Xenu, huh?
No. No. Lord Xenu is smoked out. I was given this as, when I left out, the woman told me that if I did not go through the cognitive brain therapy that they were trying to do on me, and I didn't submit, then I was going to die. That's what she told me the last couple days I was there.
We're all going to die anyway, man. That doesn't take much to predict that, right?
Good point. Good point. You know, and I was just like, this. Intuitively, I knew there was something not right because I had another friend. His name Lucas. He came from an oil family up in Alaska, and they recruited him. Meaning they would go to people with money and say, "Hey, there's this boat, and if you go on this retreat and you pay this amount of money, you'll be healed. You go to this boat and there's this thing, right?" And learning more about Scientology now, that's the recruiting part of it. And this center was a guise as a treatment center, but really it became, I think, a way for them to recruit people who were suffering and were vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And even by any means necessary, telling people that, for me, it looked like you're going to die if you don't do this. So I was
almost like preying on people in desperation, and
yeah. And that treatment center is no longer open. It's not there anymore. I'm sure the Church of Scientology is, but there's no way to find info on that place. So, and there's other people who have gone to Narconon, people that I know of, and have way more traumatic stories than I did. It was low key. She sat across from me and started doing some cognitive stuff, and which looked like yelling at me while I just sat there and took it. And I mean, I was just kind of like, I just kind of smirked. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what this is, but it's not working.
Yeah.
I don't do well with people yelling at me. So moving on, I mean, I texted some family and I said, look, I got to get out of here. I called somebody and I said, it's time for me to go. Okay. Because nobody, there's no one in my family, at least close on my mom or my dad's side, that had identified as a drug addict or an alcoholic in this generation. So a lot of me getting sober now has been uncharted water for the whole family. Like that, it's just kind of like we don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had one other addict in my family, and he ended up passing away a few years ago. And so now it's just for me, it's been like uncharted water. So I'm trying to live, and I'm trying to also like live for my uncle who passed away too, and know that his lessons didn't go in vain. So I'm kind of in the same boat of just kind of tread through and find that myself too.
Yeah, and honor him. Mm-hmm. That's really great. That's something that no one directly in my family lost, but very close friends, and that's part of one of the reasons why I do what I do now is to honor them. Like they didn't have to die in vain, right? because some of the people that I knew never got a chance to hear the message. They were never presented a solution. And we all thought this was the way it was going to be forever. And I remember the day my dad dropped me off at that treatment center in San Francisco. He looked at the hotel and he looked at me, and I could just tell he was like, I'm not dropping the sun off. I mean, he just kind of feeling, vibrating. And I was just like, Dad, these are my people. Again, you know what I mean? I'm like, I think these people are trying to get better.
Yeah.
You know, and for some of them they were, right? But
this wasn't the right route, huh?
I don't know. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Right. I had no defense both times. A woman put a script in my hand of Dilaudid morphine, and I looked at those scripts and I knew exactly what I was going to do, and I did it. I executed it. People were right there around me that were in treatment, and I went to the fucking Walgreens, dropped them off, picked them back up with them right there, and they had no idea what I was doing.
But I mean, if you get the script, that must have been like almost okay in that rehab, right? It was just like
It was strange.
that sounds like a really, really strange place. Like
It was. There was a guy living across the hall from me. I swear he was shooting heroin. It was like a halfway house, but he was shooting heroin. Right? And he wasn't in the program. He was just living there.
When you're in a rehab and shit is just confusing, like you don't know who's sober, who's not sober, like what's going on, what the rules are. I mean, that's a weird place to be in your head because at least for me, when I was getting clean, like I was confused already. I was confused as shit. Like I didn't know what was going on.
I'm still confused.
Right?
I'm still fucking confused, man. Like some days I wonder how I got here.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder. I don't stay there long. I don't ask a lot of questions about those things now. I go help someone else. Yeah. You know, because I'm here and I'm safe and I'm alive, and I don't ever have to do those things again. Like I don't. That's the trippy part about it. Is like the dying off of the old me. In the beginning, it was like I was scared that I'd want to do it again. And then I got scared that I would never get to do it again. And then what I've realized over time is that I never have to do it again. Like it doesn't have to be my truth that I relapse or that I die from this disease. Like, man, I can get hit by a car or eaten by a shark.
Yeah.
You know, break my neck skating.
Right?
But it doesn't have to be the old way. I don't have to live in that fear anymore. And I didn't have that coming out of there. I had impending doom, and I had nowhere to put all the thoughts. I had nothing to go with, right? Sponsor or any of these things that I work with now. And so I got out, and 24 hours later, I'm having a beer and smoking a little pot. You know, because at the time, these are my solutions. That's all I had.
Yeah.
To quiet the mind. And so, I bought a $500 car from a friend. It was a little Toyota Echo that was converted into a pickup. Yeah. It had a surf rack on it.
Oh, there you go.
And somehow I got an American Express card, and I bought a fucking Almeric pig. A big old hog, dude. And I bought a brand new O'Neill mutant wetsuit, and I was like, I'm gonna surf, right? And I got a job working right on Cannery Row in Monterey.
It's a beautiful place, by the way, Monterey.
Yeah,
Super special place in my life.
Super.
And that's right by where I learned to surf too. I learned a little bit south there in Santa Cruz.
Yep.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz,
yeah. Both good spots. Santa Cruz, land of perfect right point breaks.
Dude, and really angry surfers.
Yeah. You do not want to go out there to the hook or Steamer's Lane if you
No.
don't know what you're doing. That's for sure.
Get out there with Rat and all those. I'll take my chances with the Big Sur Mountain dudes. There's some of those. I mean, it's all cultural out there, and it's localized. I think it's getting better.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. There's one guy out of 4 Mile. It's a spot in Santa Cruz, like 4 miles north of the city. It's one of my favorite surf spots, and there's one guy out there. He's just a total asshole. Last time I went out there, I think 2-3 weeks ago, and I was out there surfing. And I just had a few days. The waves were breaking pretty nice. This guy's getting in my face like, "Go back to fucking China, you fucking chink," just yelling at me for no reason. And everyone's just like, ignore him. This guy's a fucking asshole. He's been there for years, but he's out there every day, and this guy sucks.
Super kook.
Super kook. Yeah.
Those are there, and it makes the water weirder.
Yeah, it's like, how do you surf every day and still have that energy? It like blows my mind. It's like, you might as well just go try something else, bro, because this ain't working.
He probably smokes crack. Or he's tweaking. That's what all the scummy crew up in Santa Cruz, like Flea and those guys came out later on and talking about surfing Mavericks, fucking high as a kite, dude. Fucking tweaking.
Whew.
Yeah, Flea and
Christ.
Twiggy and those guys, like,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah, big time.
Wow.
Some of the big wave surfers have come out later on and said that was their means of transportation out to some of those heavier spots.
It was just for the paddle strength, just
Fucking
amphetamines or
tweaking. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and I mean, I tried to surf one time on coke, and I was like, I got out of the Silmar, and I was fucking high, and it was a pretty big day, and it just made me weird.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I should not be. I did not feel connected to the water. I was like, this is not right.
I think I took Adderall one time while I was surfing, and it was like, it kind of like, I don't know, there was like a disconnect. It wasn't like that natural feeling that I got. It was like,
Yeah, not connected with the space, and I feel like I'm shark bait right now. I'm not moving correctly. I'm kind of like all weird. So I got out, dude.
So you started surfing, man. Was that for your recovery, or was that just like looking for a little more purpose in your life, a new hobby, a new?
I think that was a spirit thing, man. Now that I look back on it, because the guy who took me out there, his dad was a Navy SEAL, and Cody is like a true waterman. And I never have met a person so wholehearted about teaching someone how to surf. And Cody didn't care about the next level kooks, man. It was all about the full experience. It wasn't just about the wave. It was about how you got out there, what you did while you were out there, and connecting with the water. And Cody was very spiritual, and he didn't even really know it. Like, he didn't talk about spirituality, or it was just like the embodiment of this person was the fluidity of the ocean and what it brought into his spirit, right? And that shone like really bright to me. So I was like, I want what that guy has. So I followed him wherever he went, and he would go out on these double overhead, like, I'm out there on a fucking pig, like a 6 fucking 9, and I'm paddling out, and I mean, it was not long. I was on a shortboard because I couldn't make it out to the spots he was at on this big ass pig.
Well, you want to be able to duck dive, obviously, in those conditions. Otherwise, you're just getting washed in over and over.
Yeah. It was some of the happiest times of my life. Man, I was managing well at that time. I didn't drink a whole lot. I did smoke a lot of weed. A little bit of cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
Always got to have a little pound of cocaine, right?
Yeah.
Fucking eating his girlfriend made the best weed caramels. Like, it was just, again, the lifestyle. It was okay. Like, we ate sushi, and we smoked a lot of weed, and we surfed.
Yeah. And
I connected with the ocean, man. I lived in my car. I drove up to Pruitt Ridge, which sits above Willow Creek, or Sand Dollar Beach in Big Sur, and I would sleep in my car up there. And I'd get up and I could check the surf.
Yeah.
And if it was good, I went down. If it wasn't, I went back towards Carmel, and I'd just wait, and I'd surf. Yeah, I surfed alone a lot too.
Me too. I remember I caught my first wave. I think I was 20 years old. I was over at Capitola, actually.
Oh, yeah.
In south of Santa Cruz. That was a little point. Sometimes it gets good if the waves are big, but sometimes it's a little bit of a kook spot too. So I was out there. I just rented like a 10-foot long longboard. Just kind of. It's always something I wanted to do. I just broke up with a girlfriend of like 3-4 years at this time, and I'm just trying to find myself, kind of thing. And so I paddle out, and it's actually first wave I ever paddled for. I go for it, and I just start to feel that glide. I pop up, and I just ride it. Just a straight ride down. You know what I mean? Just cruising. It was like a little roller. You know what I mean? But I was there. I was connected with that wave. I was feeling the glide. The sun was just glistening on my face, just like bouncing off the wave. It was just like such a beautiful, like pure moment. Probably one of the most purest moments of my life. Still, I can just like encapsulate that, like so vivid in my memory. And I remember after that, I quit my job, and I bought my friend. He was like, dude, like if you really want to get into surfing, I'll sell you my board. He didn't tell me it was his board from when he was 13. There was like some 6-foot like rail fin potato chip, and yeah, so I bought that for like $200. Quit my job, with surfed every single day for the next 4 months. Man, I was up at like 4 in the morning, like paddling out, just one with nature, kind of thing. And I was the same. I was just like, well, sometimes I would drink after or whatever, but like there was something about that like calm that came with the ocean that man,
It's propelling.
yeah, it still calls to me.
Yeah.
Surf season.
Yeah, Willow Creek was a favorite spot to surf. Went out there, and that's where I really connected with the first wave, like you were talking about, and connected with a woman out there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's from Madrid, Spain.
Wow.
Haven't seen her since. About 2 weeks, man. Just solid, like beach and surf, and it's one of the most beautiful times of my life, by far. Just these profound experiences where, then I felt like I was getting better. I felt like I was worth something, but I always measured my worth on like exterior things, right? Like if I had the nice girl and these things, and then
Yeah, that was me for the longest time too. It's like in the beginning you were saying too, like you based your happiness like off this image of these people partying and doing these extreme things, and it's like even when you get those things, it's almost like the most emptiest moment, right? It's like you're not the person that you wanted to be, at the end of it.
no, and there's never enough. That's the thing. Is there's always something better, right? For me. And Raquel went home, and then I was by myself again, and I had some friends. I ended up stealing from them, right? Stole surfboards, abalone shells. I was living. Some folks were giving me a place to stay. Some close family members were giving me a place to stay. Come down out of the mountain and like stay at their house every now and again. And I stole from them. Because that's what I know how to do. It's like, well, my time's up here. I've gotten everything I need, but let me take some shit while I go.
Mm-hmm.
And I leave out and I create chaos, man. Like I took a bunch of shit, and they ended up calling my family out in Zona. I stopped in Zona on the way, and they talked to them, and then sure as shit. I get to Zona, and my dad's like, well, why don't you think about going to Texas? And so I came back down here and met a woman in College Station. And I always had this, like, I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to get my life together. I had fucking dreadlocks by this time, and I'm like total burnout, mountain surfer. So I had to change, right, the mask on what I wore. So I came down here and met her, and basically started lying to her about who I was from the rip, right? Because I can't let her know I'm a drug addict. I can't, like, there's certain things she can't know about. And we were together for a couple years, and it turns out that her dad and my grandfather was her dad's professor 30 years prior to us ever meeting. Neither of us were even born yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we meet, and so I'm telling her all these lies, and then I go meet her family, and her dad knows my grandfather. And like, normally that'd be like, oh, cool, like I'm in, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fuck. All the fucking wool's about to be pulled off this motherfucker.
It's like, I'm exposed now.
It's over, right? It's like, it's over. And we came back from the trip I actually took her out to Big Sur.
Beautiful place.
Right, and she connects with this whole thing. We had this big experience, and we come back, and I'm sitting there. And I mean, she knows I'm using. I've been using pills for a little bit. I've been drinking. She's partying. But I was sitting there about chopping up an 80, dude, and her dad comes in and fucking knocks on the door. I didn't know who it was. He opens the door and looks up, and I'm like, put like a hat or something over the pile of epoxy. And he points at me and goes, come here. And I'm like, oh shit. And I knew what it was about. And the only thing I knew to do was to get froggy. Like, I knew I was about to get confronted, and so I might as well jump. And made an ass out of myself and threw it back at him, and she stayed with me. Yeah, I was, she cared about me.
And then she knew everything after that, or no?
Yeah. And
interesting how, like, we tend to be like the most judgmental ones of ourselves. You know what I mean? It's like, seems like most people don't really care that much.
She cared about me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know how to care about myself. So I didn't really know what to do with that. I got angry at her dad, and then, and what I did was manipulate the situation and take her further from her family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's their fault, and this, and it was just like, and she and I were together off and on for 7 years. And I got the job, work in the oil field, cut the hair, company truck, company phone, got the salary, $48,000 a year, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. The white picket fence dream wasn't for me. I couldn't stop starting. I would like stop drinking or stop putting pills down, but I would always start again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I could stop because things around me got to where it was like, I'm going to lose this stuff. I need to slow down, right? Moderate. But then I'd put the alcohol down and I'd pick up the pills, right? And then that would get out of control. And then I'd put the pills down and I'd pick up the alcohol.
Yeah.
So I tried to manage, and finally in 2012, shit got really bad. We lost our house, pawned basically everything. We were living without power, without water at some points, in a pretty nice place. It was fucking stunk. The animals weren't being taken care of, and it became apparent. I mean, we were. I was in a place in my life where I didn't know how to care for myself, much less care for anyone else. I couldn't stop being sick. Couldn't stop stealing from her. Couldn't stop stealing from my family. Yeah. And so I went to treatment in Houston. I went to an indigent treatment program. Spent 2 weeks there. Called her on her birthday. Brought up all this old stuff. So I AMA'd out of there. I left against medical advice. came back into College Station and staying with some friends, and decided that I'd just get a job. Just get a job, just get on my feet, you know. And this time, my disease had progressed where I couldn't stop being drunk. I couldn't stop taking pills. So
Was it the withdrawals? Was it anxiety, depression?
it was a combination of all those. I had gotten to a point where I needed so much to inebriate or to numb that by this time I couldn't afford good beer, so I was drinking malt liquor, you know, getting pills here and there where I could, and basically I was living on a couch in my friend's house, and the roommates didn't like me. My friend, who now made amends to, is one of my really good friends. He never lost hope. He never lost hope, and he took care of me, even though I was not a very good person, right? I was an asshole, I was a drunk. You know, and it was funny he never judged me. He never judged me. He always just helped me. And,
It's amazing to have someone like that in your life.
yeah, I've had actually a few people show up for me like that. That I believe I'm alive today because of them. There's no doubt in my mind. And being able to talk to them now and be on the other side and to be able to thank them and to make it right and live this way of life is the best thing I can do. And so at some point, I got a couple jobs and I was doing all right, but I didn't have a vehicle. So my dad, being the man that he is like, "What do you need?" He calls me one day. He's like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "I need a vehicle. I'm not making it out here. I'm like living on the couch. So I need a truck." And so he's got this old ranch truck. He gives me the ranch truck, and I lived in the truck for a while. I lived at the disc golf course, and eventually it got to where I lost my job, and I was just the disc golf hobo, you know. And my friends would bring me food, beer, and remember my friend Joe? He wouldn't fucking buy me beer, but he would smoke weed with me and take me to McDonald's and feed me. You know what I mean? Like, Joe was a good dude. But he didn't want to fuel me anymore. He knew I was after stuff, and he wouldn't give me money. And this is where I started to really realize that I was having a problem, because guys like him, like he had spent some time in Tracy out in California. He went to Tracy and
Kind of like no man's land out there, huh?
yeah, Pelican Bay. He spent some time in. So this guy was like the real deal. He'd been to gladiator school and really knew the inside on what could happen to people. And I think he saw me going down that road and just wasn't going to fuel it, but tried to help me as much as he could. And so I drove to my folks. I worked for my dad for a little bit, and I saved up what I thought was enough money, and I jumped in the truck. I drove to Oregon in 2013, and I got there not knowing really what I was going for, other than I needed to get away from. I had family up there, but I knew I could stay far enough away where it wouldn't harm them. What I thought. I moved into the same town, but I didn't call them. They knew I was there because of other family, but I never talked to them. Over about from 2013 until 2017, I was chronically homeless. I lived often on the streets, in tents and camps, in people's living rooms, creeker houses, and shacks, in the mountains in Wyoming, on the ground in Montana. I mean, I ran everything for a solid 4 years. Some of that's become more clear as time went on. I used to tell people I was homeless for like 6 years. And, I think a lot of that was just not even remembering how long I was out there, or maybe wanting to boast. But it's become clear on the timeline of when I started. It was late 2012, early 2013. I was living on the streets in College Station, and then I left and went to Oregon, and I couldn't get back inside anymore. And there was a time where when I went up to Oregon, that's what I realized, this is okay. I'm becoming fully homeless now. I'm gonna embrace this. Right? It was like, I'm gonna be the best fucking hobo there is out here. Like I'm the best looking, right? Like shit like that, man. My fucking ego shows up in really weird ways. And it was like, I think I'm a sporting fellow out here, like. And I've been taught how to track. When I was younger, I was taught how to track in Wyoming, so I knew like movement of energy and animals, and then so I applied that with people, and I learned how to get what I wanted by any means necessary. I watched movement of people, interaction, and I was good at it. I could make money. I wasn't the best thief because I was always drunk. I didn't ride a bicycle because I was always drunk. I walked wherever I went. I basically walked for a solid 2 years at the end there. One day it became apparent that was not a safe place for me to be anymore, and that things had changed. The environment was getting fueled by violence. The area that I was living in had become more violent at the time. People started disappearing. One person had been murdered in a camp near mine, and it became apparent it was time to go. I had rubbed up against some wrong ways, and I lied to too many people. They didn't trust me anymore, and it was time for me to go. I left out in early 2017. It was cold that year. It snowed. There was about a foot of snow on the ground, and there was people in Portland and all around the state. Similar to this year, they had a real bad snow up there. This year, more towards the coast, which doesn't happen as much, and that's when people freeze to death up there. A lot of outdoor exposure. Long-term people who have been outdoors that long can't handle it. Like, my body had been depleted of nutrition for so long that I probably would have died if I stayed.
Plus you're drunk all the time, so blood to the extremities is not as good, huh?
So I walked out of the camp. I went to my family, and my grandmother about shit herself. I still remember that interaction to this day. She asked me what was I doing there, and I said I needed to leave now. I needed help, and she said, "Well, you can't stay here, but let's get your mom on the phone." And we did, and they got me a shuttle to the Portland airport. And I remember I asked my grandma for a glass of wine. I was like, because my grandmother drinks wine, and I said, "Can I have a glass of wine?" And she said, "Oh yeah, sure." She walked over to the kitchen, poured me water, came back, gave me water. So I drank the water real quick, and I said, "May I have some wine?" And she said, "Oh, sure." She walked over to the sink and got more water. Came back, and I was just like, at that point, I could tell, like, well, I mean, I don't really have a problem, but maybe she has a problem with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm completely homeless and, like, have nowhere to go, but I still am thoroughly convinced that I'm not the problem, right?
Yeah.
And alcohol is still working. Like, it was still working at that time for me. And I got back back down to Texas. I got a flight down here. I went back to the original treatment center in Houston. Spent another 2 weeks at that treatment center, and on the 14th day I was there, I was picking up trash on the side of the freeway in Houston, and I found a stack of Suboxone strips laying on the ground, and hadn't worked any of the steps. Didn't have any knowledge other than, well, fuck it, right? Picked it up, put it in my mouth, and I packed my shit that night. Took $2 from a guy, and walked to the first convenience store I could get to, about 3 blocks down on 34th and Anton area, and picked up a Schlitz malt liquor. I had to go for the bull. And I just remember sitting down, man, and I drank that beer by this La Quinta, and I had done it twice. Both times I had handmade from the place, I had done the same thing. And I had grabbed the same kind of beer, and I sat in the same spot. And I just remember drinking that beer and going, dude, this is going to be a motherfucker. I mean, it's on. And I walked from 34th and Anton to College Station. It took me 3 days.
Holy shit.
And, one guy picked me up, drive me about 10 miles.
How many miles is that whole trip?
90 miles.
90 miles.
Yeah, 90 miles. I found 2 bags of cocaine on the way. Woohoo! Guy gave me $10. I didn't buy any food with it because I knew I needed beer to get there. I was DTing a little bit, so I got a couple 40s and got a pack of smokes and made a little hooch, little hut on the side of the highway on some real nice thick private land right off Highway 6, and camped out for the night, and cried and sang and cried and drank all night. Woke up dehydrated. Fuck, that last day was awful. I walked into Navasota. I didn't have any money, so I just walked into McDonald's. I kind of had a thing with McDonald's. I just walk in there, and they got so much food there, man. Like, I just, as rough as I look, I just go in and I'd say, look, I haven't had anything to eat in several days. Like, can you give me something to eat? And every time they would. Thank you, McDonald's. So I walked into town. Right outside of town, I got picked up by a sheriff, and the sheriff dropped me in town. And wound up back in the same area. I kind of first started homeless, and I knew some people, and same old shit. Everybody's fucking whacked out of their minds and drinking. But it was like, cool. Well, I'm just gonna do it here now. I didn't have any ideas about getting sober yet. And, I got some meth one day, and by this point, meth was probably my drug of choice, just because it kept me up, it kept me alert. I didn't have to eat, I could drink more, and I could move around and get what I needed. And I took it. I ate it by this point because getting needles took too long. And I ate it, and I went back into, I had psychosis already, but this one was bad. Went into full-blown psychosis and walked into the police station, told the police that somebody was trying to kill me, and was taken to the hospital. Hospital, I told them the same story, and eventually somebody came to me and said, you need to tell them everything that's going on in your head. And so I told them, like, hey, like, I'm going to hurt myself or someone else. And they took me to a psych ward in Richmond, Rosenberg. And I remember they put me in a cop car, and I waited almost 24 hours. I don't think it was 24 hours, maybe 12 hours for a transport I was fully convinced the entire time that the cops were going to drive me into this warehouse and they were going to butcher me. Like I mean, it was for sure going to happen. Like I was ready to die, and I kept begging them, like I'm ready. Like let's go do this. I was so miserable. I stopped working. Like I would put drugs in my body or put alcohol in my body, and I stopped working. The drugs you could probably give to anyone else, and they would have worked just fine. But for me, it stopped working.
Just kind of make you feel normal, or just didn't do anything?
No, like I couldn't hang. It was over. Like the alcohol didn't numb the voices, and the meth made them louder, and weed just made me paranoid, and opiates fucking pissed me off.
Yeah.
Like it just stopped one day, and so I went to the psych ward. I spent 7-8 days there. They put me in the high unit for a little while, and I walked around talking to the ceiling for about 3 days, and finally they hit me with 2 shots of Haldol in each arm, and I slept for I don't even know how long. And they stabilized me, and then they took me to a halfway house in Warden, which is further south of Houston. And it was a faith-based program. They did do step work, meetings, but I wasn't ready. I still wasn't ready. I was in that halfway house, and there's a couple of the guys drinking in there, and one of the guys and I went and painted the house, and we had a beer, and then not long after that I was smoking crack with him, and back into full-blown psychosis. Smoking crack, jumping in and out of the shower, thinking that like I was gonna like get clean by, well, I'm gonna smoke this crack and then I'll jump in the shower and I'll be clean. You know, it was like, I mean, dude, fucking out of there, bro. Like, I was cuckoo bird, dude. Yeah. And did the same thing. Went down to the police station, told the cops like, there's people who are definitely coming to kill me. Like I've done some really bad things. And I didn't know it at the time, but really what I was trying to do was I was trying to do the right thing, and I was trying to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm. And it was just coming out in a weird, distorted way.
I was in psychosis still, right? And I hadn't sat still yet, and I didn't have enough separation or abstinence from. So my mind would just like spin off into these stories about what I thought was going to happen, and it was for sure happening. And finally, I called my dad on day before St. Patrick's Day, and I said, "Look, man, I can't live. I can't do this anymore. I need to go back to the psych ward, but they don't have a bed, and I don't know what to do." He said, "All right," and he called. He said, "I want you to do me a favor. You call me tomorrow." That was St. Patrick's Day, and I called him, and I didn't tell him I'd been smoking crack, but I told him I'd been drinking. I was like, "Look, I've been drinking, and I need some help." And he's like, "All right, are you willing to do anything?" I said, "Yeah, I'm ready. I can't live like this." And that's where it all started. My dad, I drank. St. Patrick's Day 2017, that was the last time I had a drink. I drank 2 Four Locos. 4 Loco lifestyle, baby.
Those things are crazy, man.
I used to take a 4 Loco and a OE40,
the oldie. Yeah.
And I'd tip a little bit of the OE back, take a little bit off, and then I'd pour the 4 Loco in.
No way. That's funny. I did that with the Old English 800 and then the Mad Dog 2020. And I poured that in there. We called it a curbside smash, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ours was sidewalk slam.
Sidewalk slam. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after you give them plasma. Like you go give some plasma, then you get a 40 and a Four Loko. You falling out, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, I hit the ground one time so fucking hard, dude. Yeah, so I just remember getting to treatment. I'd been out for so long that I didn't know what it felt like to be inside anymore. I didn't know what it felt like to be around other people anymore. But I was willing to do anything. And if I can hold on to that, that is the greatest tool I could ever have.
Mm.
That's why I work with others, because I forget. I forget when my boss tells me I'm not doing my job correctly. That's where I come from. Like I forget that, right? Because I don't remember what it felt like to not be able to come inside. I don't remember what it felt like to not shower for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I have new memory now that is good. It's good for me to have this new memory, but also what comes with that is forgetfulness.
Mm.
So in helping people who are new, it keeps me closer to where I came from. Yeah. And I get to see the demoralization, right? That's what it did to me. Was it took me places and I saw things that I never thought were possible. I'll never be homeless. I'll never have a felony court case. I'm too good for this. And it all happened. Those promises came true on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I found my way into places now where I get to say yes a lot. I get to help. And when people ask me to do things, I say yes. And, I have a no. I'm getting better at that.
Yeah.
But I have commitments in my life that hold me accountable. Other men around me that hold me accountable.
Yeah.
I work actively with a sponsor, and I help other people and I pass it along.
Yeah. Well, I think one big thing, at least for me, has been like, when I was in my early stages of my addiction, it's like when I was thinking about myself all the time, in the early stages of my recovery, it's like, when I was thinking about, oh, I feel anxious, I feel depressed, I feel all these things, it's like all these selfish thoughts where I'm just so focused on myself. It's like when I could get outside of that, just help someone else, I didn't even have to think about this thing anymore, which was like the greatest gift of all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was being able to realize that I am selfish and self-centered by nature now, because I have lived in the survival mode for so long.
Patterned it for all those years, yeah.
So now it's like this. I have this path in my brain, this neurological pathway, where the first thing I want to do is think about me.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and I have continued to run that, and then to start making this other path, right? Is like, it's secondary.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always first. It's secondary, but like the path is starting to become clear,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I go into situations, I can set an intention so that I can clearly go to that path before this one, right? Like it doesn't have to be about me anymore. And actually it being about someone else will help me stay well.
Absolutely. And
Like
the more you fire plan B instead of plan A, the stronger this pathway gets and the weaker this one gets, right?
Yeah.
So it's like eventually it's going to be automatic.
But
Hopefully.
reactionary,
Yeah.
like that's what I'm working right now. I'm doing EMDR work.
Yeah.
And it's for PTSD and for trauma, and it has become something that I never thought, like, I thought that these things just go away, right? Like the trauma just goes away. We don't got to think about this anymore. It's just going to go away.
Yeah.
And turns out that's not true. So what I've started to learn and started to apply is that it will always be there, but I don't have to be as reactionary to it anymore. It doesn't. I'm not in the know about my story and what's going to happen to me in my life. But that's how I always played it out. Was that I'm in control of my own life. If I do this, this, and this, I can swoop under death, right? I can slide this way and do this thing, and I'll be okay. And it turns out I'm totally full of shit.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest things that I've gotten in this is that it's okay to not be in control. I don't have to know. I don't have to seek in that way anymore, right? Now I seek in a spiritual way. And that doesn't run out either. Like that doesn't run out. The drugs and the alcohol, all that shit, the car and the this and the that, even in this deal for me now, all that shit runs out.
Absolutely.
But when somebody comes to me and says, hey man, would you come share your story, or would you come do this thing? It's like, and the first thought I have is, fuck no. Right? It's like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
And then the secondary now, right? Because my thoughts don't match my actions. I pray about it, and then I go, oh yeah. Right? And I come over and I sit down and I share an experience with someone, gain a connection. Hey, how are you doing it? How's this thing working in your life? Right? How's it working in their lives? And it's really taken a large community of people to hold me in this thing too.
And another thing I found is like that initial resistance. Like anytime we feel like there's that instant, like there's no, you know what I mean? There's like a reason why that no is there. There's like a fear, you know what I mean? Like that resistance is a fear, and every time there's fear, there's an opportunity for growth. You know what I mean? There's an underlying reason deep down years ago why there's that no. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And people try to tell me to get to the root of that, and I'm like, I'm not there yet. Right? I just know my brain is fucked, and I need to like pray about it. Maybe talk to a guy. You know, I don't need to just thrust my way in there.
Well, your brain's not fucked. I mean, you're patterning your brain right now. I mean, you're getting it right.
Let's say that was wrong. My thinking and my decision making on my own has proven I don't make the best decisions. And this is why having prayer life, having a connection, and staying with that has been imperative for me to stay this course and to give it away. To give it away to people that may not have another opportunity to hear it. And I was given seeds a long time ago that are just now cultivating. I had seeds planted almost 5, 6, 7 years ago that are just now cultivating, that are just now coming into fruition. And there's people that know I'm alive and that I'm doing this thing now that are right. They're like, holy shit. Like, you know, and I'll have friends be like, well, you're smoking weed? are you drinking? And I'm like, no, look, I don't do anything. Like, completely abstinent. Like, I take ibuprofen. That's what I do.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that is, if my back hurts.
Ibuprofen, man. You gotta switch to turmeric, dog. Come on.
Right.
It's not gonna kill you for the ibuprofen.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, coming from taking psych meds and
So you did end up taking psych meds for a while.
yeah, not more than probably a year and a half ago. I stopped taking them. I stopped taking them early. Probably about 6 months sober. I started taking them, or stopped taking them.
It's a huge thing I noticed with, when you look at the SSRIs and stuff like that, it's like sometimes initially it'll give you the serotonin you needed, but like it definitely won't help you deal with the trauma behind it.
No, it didn't have legs anymore. Like at first it had legs where it kept me sitting still.
Yeah.
Where I didn't have to. It kept me numb. But there was a time where I needed to feel fully, and I kept working a 12-step program. Right, I kept applying that in my life, and I've continued to apply that in my life. And the miracle about it is that there's been a lot of changes I've seen ongoing, and then things in my life that are happening now that people make me aware of that I'm, even some growth that happens that I'm unaware of. There's things I want to look at a deeper level that I never thought I would ever even be here to do. And if I could say one thing about it, to sum it up, is like what you were talking about with your uncle, right? Is like I knew that I needed to do something different. I don't know a lot of what I need to do now. That's why I take suggestion and direction a lot. And sometimes I don't. I'm messy at times. But the one thing I've kept close to is honoring the people that didn't make it. And then carrying that message on to people who are still suffering. And saying yes when there's a loud no. And maybe when there's a loud yes, maybe it should be no.
Yeah.
Right? Like just kind of watching my thoughts and helping others and opening my mouth and asking the guys that come before me that have been doing this a lot longer than me. And yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing it. That's an amazing story, and yeah, I mean, wow. And for all those people out there that if you are going through a psychosis or you're worried about that, it does come back. Like Lucas here is a beautiful example. I've been in a full-blown psychosis too, and I think my head's. I still got a few screws loose, but I'm here today. So the other thing I wanted to talk with you about, man, is the Sweat Lodge, because that's where we met. That's like a beautiful place. I mean, there's something magical that happens in there, and I can't really explain it. It's not like a scientific thing or anything like that. But we pray in there and we sweat, and every time when I come out, it's like undeniable. I feel better. I feel more in tune, more in the moment, more just okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When did you first get started in that culture?
I found my way to ceremony through the rooms. I had some brothers around me that were doing it, and they knew I had lived in the woods for a while, and that I was used to being a dirt rolling hippie. And I surfed, and I was looking for a community outside of the rooms for support, and I found it early on in sobriety. I was probably a little under a year sober, and I'm still new. I'm the way of life and the teaching where I'm at. I can't talk too much about what it is because I really don't know. Right? It's Nibi is a purification ceremony under the lineage that I learned under, and the traditions and what the Lakota Nation has done for people like myself in recovery, and specifically Chief Leonard Crow Dog and Chief Mike Hole, have given me a new means of living and a path that I choose to call family. And I see a lot of people in recovery come. Some people come once and some people stay. If I had one thing to say about that, it just found me. It just found me. I was doing the right thing and trying to do the right thing, and it just found me. By no means did I go looking, and by no means is it of my making. But it is something that's very sacred to me now, and yeah, it's kind of crazy to be Polish, Irish, Scotch Irish, and the things that I hear and the things that I'm around, and what a culture and a people have done for giving away their traditions and teachings so that people can get better, no matter what their color or their race or gender, any of that stuff is like, I see a pouring out of heart that I've never seen before in my entire life. And I can't really say much more than that.
That's really beautiful how you worded that, man. I mean, I think that just hits the nail on the head perfectly. I mean, like, that sweat, I mean, they just, like, let random people into their backyard just to walk in there and, not even of the tribe, not any of that stuff, fresh, maybe off drugs, whatever it is, and then, they let you sweat, and they give you water, and they pray with you, and then we all eat together after. It's just, it's such a beautiful ceremony and beautiful community, you know what I mean, where there's no judgment, there's no, I don't know, it just seems so pure, and gosh, it just really has a special place in my heart, man.
Yeah. It will find you. It will find you, That's what I've seen people come from all over the world. And it's a really bright light, man. And I'm really grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, me too. I think that's a great place to start. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you guys maybe picked up some new tools and enjoyed the story and got something out of it. Thanks so much.